Alright, welcoming you to the video. Now today's video is on mitosis. Now this is the process by which a single cell divides into two identical daughter cells. So I was just checking if the mic was on. It's on. It's on! Anyway, so this is a vitally important process that happens in the growth, development, and repair of all multicellular organisms. So humans, cats, dogs, slugs, worms, all the multicellular organisms go through mitosis. And mitosis plays a pretty important role in your life on a daily basis. So it's through mitosis that your body can replace and repair damaged or dying cells rather, such as skin cells, red blood cells, and white blood cells. Now this is why wounds and injuries can eventually heal and why your body can continue to function properly even as these cells die off and get replaced by new ones. But there's a bit of a slippery dark side to mitosis. So it's the process by which some diseases like cancer can spread throughout the body. So when cancer cells undergo mitosis, they can divide and multiply uncontrollably, leading to the growth of tumors. But by understanding the process of mitosis, scientists and medical professionals can develop treatments and therapies that target cancer cells and prevent their spread. So overall, mitosis is a fundamental process that impacts your health and well-being on a daily basis. So it can help your body repair and replace cells, as well as understanding and treating diseases like cancer. But that's just a bit of a big picture overview. There's a bit more to it than that. So we're actually going to talk about the different phases in mitosis a bit more in depth. So let's start with prophase. Now this process is where the chromatin in the nucleus, and chromatin, just quickly, is when DNA is not condensed. It's in this weird kind of spaghetti-like soup. So in prophase, this DNA soup condenses into a more packed and visible form of DNA called chromosomes. Now these chromosomes consist of two identical sister chromatids which are joined together at a central point called the centromere. Okay? So think of these as twins, and they're joined together by this central point. They're Siamese twins for now. Anyway, so while this is happening, the nucleolus, which if you've watched my video on eukaryotic cells, which I might not have released yet, but I will, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, so the nucleolus inside the nucleus, this is the structure that produces ribosomes. This disappears, and so as well as this, the nuclear envelope, which is the membrane that surrounds the nucleus, breaks down into small vesicles. So while this is all happening, the centrioles, which are little organelles that help with cell division, move to opposite poles of the cell, and spindle fibers start to form from them. And these are responsible for moving the chromosomes around during cell division. Now, the next phase is called prometaphase, but this is a bit of a contentious one. Some institutions or scientists, whatever, they kind of skip this phase and they either treat it as part of prophase or metaphase or this weird late prophase, early metaphase, but I'm going to, and many others, consider it its own phase. So this is where things start to get absolutely crazy. And spindle fibers, the spindle fibers in prometaphase, they keep growing and attach to special spots called kinetochores, right? And these kinetochores are on the chromosomes, and the chromosomes start moving towards the middle of the cell, while the spindle fibers keep growing and shrinking. This is what's helping them move. So there are also some cool motor proteins called dyneins and kinesins. Dyneins and kinesins. And these move around and make sure that the chromosomes are all in the right place. So, and prometaphase is like a big dance party where everyone's moving around and having fun. Metaphase is the next phase, During metaphase, the chromosomes get into position for what I like to call the Great Divide. So these line up right in the middle of the cell along the metaphase plate. Now this is heaps important because it helps to make sure that each new identical daughter cell gets the same amount of chromosomes. The spindle fibers, which we've talked about, and they're kind of like these tiny ropes which are attached to the chromosomes. So from opposite sides, they're attached to each side, and they help keep the chromosomes in place by... there's my sister outside. Hello. Anyway, so they keep them in place by pulling on them with just the right amount of tension. Now this way, the chromosomes don't drift away from the metaphase plate, and it helps them get divided up correctly and evenly between the new cells. Now this happens during the next phase, called anaphase. This is when the tiny ropes, the spindle fibers, start to get shorter and pull the identical twins, the sister chromatids, apart at the central part called the centromere. So the sisters, the twins, move towards opposite sides of the cell. Now at the same time, the cell stretches out as the tiny ropes, the spindle fibers, from opposite sides push against each other, and that helps to pull the sisters apart. So if you can imagine it like tug of war, which popularized by the Netflix program Squid Game, it's like that, where they're all playing tug of war, trying not to die. Anyway, so with the spindle fibers on each side, they are trying to pull the sisters, the identical sister chromatids, towards them, while the other spindle fibers are trying to do the same, and this is what separates them to each side of the cell. So this is what I like to call the Great Divide. Now, in telophase, things start to calm down a bit, right? So the tiny ropes, the spindle fibers, they disappear, and the new nuclear envelope, which is the membrane around the nucleus, forms around, each set of chromosomes on either side of the cell. So the chromosomes now start to relax and kind of melt back into their original DNA soup, the chromatin. And so they're in they get their nucleolus back, the little round ball that comes back into view. The cell also starts to pinch in the middle, getting ready for the final step of cell division. And in animal cells, like slug cells, worm cells, things like that, human cells, a special ring made of tiny fibers called actin and myosin form around the middle of the cell and start to squeeze it in like a belt. So at this stage in plant cells, a new cell wall starts to form right down the middle of the cell. Now the next thing that happens is called cytokinesis. And this is not technically part of mitosis, not part of mitosis. And that's where the cell fully splits into two new identical daughter cells. Now, a lot of biology teachers will give you a little acronym to help you remember all of mitosis. They call it PMAT. But that only talks about prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. So I'm going to leave you with a custom and highly improved acronym, which is called PPMATK, which is prophase, prometaphase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. Okay, so just remember PPMATK when you need to think of all the phases for your test. All right, I hope you enjoyed that, and talk to you soon.